What it do, Kaizoku crew? It's your boy Kaizoku Ice. And wow, before I even start the video, guys, shout out you guys. I was like, if we reach 800 subscribers at the end of this week, like giveaway, but you guys just crushed through that. As I'm making this video right now, we are at 870. Mind-boggling, and all that means is that we've got more giveaways. But before I get into the giveaway, today's video will be about Manga Rare cards. In particular, Manga Rares in the PSA 10 and their population count. I thought this would be a good exercise to see how much it costs for all of the Manga Rares. What's the population count per Manga Rare? And then my also personal opinion on whether you should buy this card. Maybe it's more scarce than another card, or maybe I think it's just not going to do well over time and, you know, it's not a buy now, but maybe a buy later. So that is today's video. But before we get into that, as I was saying earlier, we've got a lot of things to celebrate. It is, once again, my birthday week. My birthday's on Friday. Very exciting. But what it means for my Kaizoku crew is we got videos and giveaways for the rest of the week. So if you guys haven't already entered for the Gold Roger giveaway, that is in my OP11 hit rate video. So comment down below there. And then if you haven't entered for the Yamato and the Luffy promo, that is in my video yesterday about Romance Dawn prices. So once again, don't forget to comment. And then the cards for today's video is only fitting. We might be giving away something fire, maybe a Manga Rare, potentially, because we're talking about Manga Rares. No, I'm just kidding. But we are giving away the, the Usopp 25th Anniversary Collection, which technically is low-key Manga Rare, because it is the Manga Rare art. And then we've got which one is this? The Luffy First Anniversary Promo and a Lim Super Rare. So, you guys, once again, all you have to do is wait till the end of this video, and I'll let you know how you can win that. Just probably me a comment. I don't know. Anyways, let me make my screen smaller now, and let's go ahead and get into the Excel sheet. Kaizoku Ice Excel Master back at it again. Y'all know the vibes. So, yeah, I was really curious. I was reading some of my comments from my previous videos about, you know, what you guys were thinking about Manga Rares, and in particular the PSA 10s of Manga Rares. And, you know, I personally think that collecting the Manga Rares in a PSA 10 is the best move because it is the chase card, and I personally wouldn't want to have my chase card and most expensive card in a set just raw, unless I was playing it, right? Then playing it's a completely different story. And I know that some crazy people with their maxed out, blinged out decks actually play the Manga Rares in their decks, but that is not me. I am a simple person that likes to actually, like, I don't know, like, not touch my cards that much. So I like having it in the slab, and I think most of y'all do also. So let's go ahead and get started. So the OP01 Shanks PSA 10 from Romance Dawn currently has a population count of 962. Range of prices, so all these prices actually came from, or all these numbers came from the official PSA site itself. I'll probably put a graphic probably here somewhere about, you know, how I got these numbers. And then this estimated PSA 10 price, they actually have a column underneath on, you know, the PSA website, but I don't think it's extremely accurate. So I kind of also just use my knowledge overall in the card market and, you know, basically estimated my own PSA 10 price. So let's go back and talk about the Shanks from Romance Dawn. Population count of about 962, less than 1,000. Range of prices have gone from in between 900 to 1,700, and I've estimated a PSA 10 price of 1,300. And then actually this last column here, not too much, it's not like the best insight I think you guys actually need to collect the cards, but I thought it'd be really interesting to see just how much, you know, all of the Shankses in the PSA 10 would cost, you know, so the total market cap. And we have a total market cap of PSA 10 Shanks of $1.25 million. You know, it's kind of crazy to think about just how much, you know, these One Piece cards actually go for. You know, I think when we talk about like One Piece investing in particular, I always think that's a little bit of a taboo word because, you know, it's, once again, it's just like a card game. It's for fun. But at the same time, you know, when you're collecting these cards, there are definitely some opportunities, you know, to make a lot of money if you can find the right card at the right time, right? So if you have that foresight, maybe you were one of the people that got the Shanks at like $900, and now we can expect it to go back up to, you know, almost $1,700 at this top range price the past year. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that total market cap column. I just thought it was really cool. And then also I added all of them up, and I'll talk about it at the end of the video, but just real quick, it seems like we have a total market cap of all the PSA 10s of $12 million. kind of crazy. That just kind of shows just how lucrative the One Piece trading card game is and can be and will be in the future. So that is the Shanks. I personally like the Shanks. I talked about it in my video yesterday. It is the first manga rare, and yeah, it's gonna do well over time, I think. The next card I'll be talking about is the Ace Manga Rare from Paramount War. Population count of 896, ranger prices about $570 to $1,000, and then my estimated PSA 10 price was $900. This card has gone down, I would say, quite significantly over the past 2 years. I personally have I have a Manga Ace in a BGS 10, and I bought mine, I think, for about $1,300 back in 2023, and it has gone down. I remember I brought it to Collecticon here in Houston about a year ago, and the guy was offering me $900 in a BGS 10, and I was like, yeah, we're not doing that. I think that the Ace is just going to continue to go up also. I think, yeah, right now, as I said, it is on a little bit of a decline. I think actually overall, most of the mangas have declined a little bit just because once the PRB God Pack came out and you could get the mangas reprinted there, I think that kind of shook up the market a little bit. But the original manga rares in their original sets are still now going to be technically the first editions of each manga rare, so I think that also gives it some value. And for all of these cards, I honestly do expect them to go up over time. And yeah, so that is the Ace. Let's see, moving right along, the Soga King. Soga King is pretty interesting, actually. I was quite shocked to see that it only had a population count of a PSA 10 of 681. That is, significantly lower than a lot of the other cards that, we have here. And it is one of the older sets, so you might expect the population count to be a lot higher because it is an older set. So people have had more time to collect it, but that's not the case. I'm not sure if people just don't like Usopp or Soga King in general, but yeah, I found that quite interesting to see. Ranger prices about $544 to $800, but I've mainly seen this card on eBay for about $550. I saw one about a month ago for $500, and I almost pulled the trigger, but I just didn't. So this card I'm actually quite interested in because it has such a low population count. Obviously, this population count is just PSA cards, so I haven't included any of the BGS 10 numbers, but I think this still overall just gives kind of a good measure on the market for a graded card or all of the graded mangas in general. And at $550 for this low population count, I could see this card definitely going back up, maybe to its peak price of like around $800, because it is, one of the more scarce cards. OP03 is becoming a more expensive booster box to buy in general, so once that box keeps going up, I think that the Soga King price will go up too, so this might be a great opportunity to buy relatively low. Next card here we've got is the Sabo from OP04. This one has a pretty high population count of about 1,034, which once again, that kind of confuses me why the Soga King is so low because, OP03 has been out longer than OP04, so you'd think that OP03 would be around the same population count as sets 1, 2, and 4, but it's not. So that's a little bit of an interesting fact that, I want you guys to see, and I wanted to highlight to you guys. Our range of prices of the Sabo is about $376 to $564, and an estimated PSA 10 price of about $450. I do think that this card is also going to go back up. Same reason why I think Pillars of Strength or Soga King from Pillars of Strength is going to go up, because Kingdom of Intrigue OP04 has a lot of great cards. It has the SP Boa, the Law, and I think that said, it's also going to become harder to find, and once the box prices of OP04 goes up, then the Sabo will also go up. I personally, for transparency's sake, I got my Sabo back in 2023 also. I think I got it for like $900, so I'm down about half of my money on that Sabo. So not the best look, but at the same time, One Piece trading card game is a speculative market overall, so we never know what's going to happen, but can at least try to predict what's going to happen. And I do think that the Sabo itself, Sabo is really popular also in the end game. Him with the Revolutionary Army is going to be a whole thing, so with him being one of the potential main characters in the end game, I do expect this card to go back up. All right, now we're going to OP05, one of my favorite sets. Let's talk about the Manga Kid. So the Manga Kid in the PSA 10 population count of 617, Ranger price is $360 to $540, and an estimated PSA 10 price of $500. Overall, I don't think I have too much of an opinion on this card. I see the reason why it's so low because Kid is low-key the worst of the big three of the worst generation, that being Luffy, Law, and Kid. And also, you know, he kind of took that L, and, you know, whether or not he's going to be relevant in the endgame, nobody really knows. I'm kind of leaning towards no. And as a result, I just don't think that his card is going to do that well. But it is nice to see that it is one of the cheaper manga cards. And with OP05, because there's 3 manga rares, you know, technically it is hard to kind of pull that card in general, or pull a specific manga rare that you want. So, you know, if you are a Kid fan, I'd be rejoicing at seeing this low price at $500, and, you know, you could get it on the low right now. Next one we've got is my personal favorite manga, the Manga Law. In a PSA 10, there are 544 currently graded, and Ranger prices range from $430 to $1,200. I'm a little bit shocked by that $430 price. There is absolutely no way that the Law went for that low, but according to PSA's data, that's what it went for. But I personally think that the PSA 10 price for this card is about $900. I have seen some on eBay buy now for about $1,000, and I have seen some bid for around, you know, like $700 to $900, but I think conservatively we are at $900 for this card. I absolutely love this card. It is so cool. I'm pretty sure he's doing room in that card, and his just art from the Wano arc is just so cool. And yeah, I'm a big fan of this card. I still think that the Ace, if you're comparing the PSA 10 price, like Ace is $900 and so is the Law, I still think that the Ace has better value overall because it is from the second set, and I think a lot of people like Ace more than Law. So, you know, just kind of think about that in terms of popularity. I think that, you know, Ace has more potential than Law in general. Moving right along, we've got the cream of the crop, Gear 5 Luffy. In a PSA 10, there is a population count of 729. Ranger prices kind of vary from 2,500 to 3,700, and that's what PSA's website said. I don't think I kind of believe that, because I've seen some sold on eBay for like around 4K, 4.4K. So I don't know if that's super accurate. I have an estimated PSA 10 price of 3,600, and I did see some sales on eBay for about like that price. But honestly, I think that this card deserves to be more like 4K, maybe even like upper end of towards 5K, because Gear 5 Luffy is, you know, the most iconic transformation in One Piece. It is such a hard card to pull, and, you know, because of that, I just think that it deserves to be a lot higher. I'm not sure if it's because we've gotten some just overall fatigue in the market. Maybe prices are normalizing in general. I do think that this card, from what I've seen, is on a little bit of a steady decline, but this is one of the, if not the staple card of the One Piece trading card game currently, and I do expect it to go back up, you know, over time. The next one I'll be talking about is technically not a manga, but I added it here because it is a very important card and a hard card and expensive card to have. That is the Oda signed Luffy in a PSA 10. Pop count of 842, Ranger price between $1,000 to almost $1,700. I actually don't think that's right either. I have seen some eBay sales for around $1,600, but I think it's more average around $1,800. And I personally, back when I was at Collecticon in Houston about a year ago, I almost pulled the trigger on a signed Luffy in a PSA 10 for around like $1,800, but I decided against it just because I was looking for other things in general. But this right here, guys, this card has a lot of potential. It is the only signed card in the trading card game. If you guys aren't familiar with signed cards, I know Why Schwartz does a lot of them. I know Dragon Ball Z has some of them too. And those cards go for quite a pretty penny. And I do think, actually, in my opinion, you know, I think this card is borderline equal, if not better, than the Gear 5 Luffy. It's got a similar population count, and it's about half the price. Obviously, it's not Gear 5, but it's got literally Ichiro Oda's signature, which is, I mean, he's like the greatest mangaka in like all time, right? He's been writing since like 95, 96, and he's still going. And I think that, you know, once One Piece is over and people start to, you know, like really acknowledge just how great Ichiro Oda is, this card has a lot of potential to go up. Like, honestly, I think more towards the Gear 5 Luffy price. So, $1,800, while it is a lot of money, I do think that this one has, honestly, out of all the cards I just talked about, this one I think has the most room to grow because it is an Oda-san Luffy, has a relatively low population count, and yeah, great art in general. All right, we got through OP05. We're at OP06 now, the Zoro manga. This has the highest population count of 1,280. Range of prices about 750 to 1,100, but I think I've seen some recently sell on eBay for about 950. This card has been going up a lot, guys. I think that OP06 is starting to get in its collectability phase, and OP06 prices are starting to go up. Actually, fun fact, guys, I have a box of OP06 right here to open for my birthday, so maybe we can pull that Zoro. I don't have to actually buy it for my collection, but yeah, I think that because OP06 prices are steadily increasing, this card will also increase, similar to the same reason why I think the Soga King and the Sabo will increase. Once a certain set gets, once it gets stopped printed and it gets more collectible, then we could expect those manga rare prices to increase for each set respectively. Moving on, the Boa Hancock PSA 10. We got a lot of this card. 1,172 in a PSA 10. She is the only girl manga rare besides the Nami. I actually just realized I didn't put the Nami here. Oh man, maybe I can put that in afterwards. But anyways, she is the only girl besides the Nami that we have for a manga rare. So that in itself is like pretty significant. You guys know how I feel about the girls of One Piece. I love them. And ranger prices for the Boa $650 to $900. So on the lower end, a PSA 10 price of $750. I think that this card could be a pretty good buy. Obviously, she's not as she's not as popular as Nami, but she is a very popular character in general. She is Luffy's love interest in the show, and I do think that once we get the end game and potentially Luffy gets with her, Wife of the Pirate King is a pretty sweet title, and I think people will like her and want her cards, so be on the lookout for Boa. Rayleigh is next from two legends, pop count of 716, relatively low, but maybe people just haven't been grading them as much, or maybe people are playing the Rayleighs in their red decks, because I know a lot of people actually use him. He's a pretty good 8-cost card. Range of prices $444 to $666. I think I saw on eBay though, estimate PSA 10 price of about $450. This card I don't love, but once again, it is a manga rare. Rayleigh is an old man. He is the second hand of the Pirate King, so that's pretty cool, but I mean, he's kind of whatever to me, and I think that's why his price reflects. I do think he has an estimated PSA 10 price of about the same as the Sabo, but I personally think the Sabo is a better buy because Sabo just overall is cooler, and he's like literally the brother of Luffy, whereas Rayleigh is just like an old man who's very strong though. But I would kind of stay away, I think, from this card just in general. It is pretty low, so if you want to own a manga, that is one to own, but I'd rather just have the Sabo at the same price, honestly. So yeah, moving along, for everything OP09 and onwards, there wasn't too much PSA data on this actual website, so a lot of the range of prices and estimated 10 PSA prices I found online on eBay in particular, so take that with a grain of salt. We got the Roger, one of the best cards in the game, pop count of 144, very low, but also it has only been about 6 months since OP09 came out, so maybe people just haven't graded them or have even opened the product yet to find enough Rogers to grade. Range of prices varied from about $4,000 to $5,800, so almost $6,000. I pretty much just averaged that around $5,000 for my estimated PSA 10 price. This is a very expensive card. Obviously, the manga art for the Roger is a little bit different because it has the gold manga panels in the background. This is a card I'll probably never own. It is very expensive, and I think I personally, from a collecting perspective, I think I'd rather just get all of the other cards, because in my opinion, it's kind of hard to put all of your money in one card. It's kind of just putting all of your eggs in one basket in general. So I would rather have 5 or 6, 7, 8 manga rares than have only one manga rare Roger, but that's just my opinion. I don't know about y'all. So yeah, moving right along, we've got the Luffy from OP09, pop count of 330, range of price is about $900 to $1,300, and an estimated PSA 10 price of $1,100. Actually, for all of the manga rares, not the Roger, but for Luffy, Blackbeard, Buggy, and Shanks, I think I can kind of talk about them all at once because they're all more or less the same. I think that the prices for these are way too high. You see the Luffy here about $1,100, the Blackbeard, I think that has no business being around $1,000. Same with the Shanks. I don't think that should be $1,000. that OP09 Shanks is almost the same price as the Romance Dawn Shanks, about $1,300. And I think that the Romance Dawn Shanks is a lot better than the Emperors of the New World Shanks. So, I mean, I do think that because that these cards are still, relatively new, that's why the prices for these cards are pretty high. But if we're kind of, comparing it to, let's say, for example, OP05, I mean, we see that the Kid and the Law are about $500 and $900. I don't think that the Luffy Blackbeard Shanks will go down to $500, but I do think that it might settle more around like the $800 to $900 mark, just because, we already have a Luffy manga, right? We have the Gear 5 Luffy, we have the EB02 Luffy, the Gear 2 Luffy. We don't have a Blackbeard manga yet, but just in general, I mean, Blackbeard is cool. He is like actually a really cool villain, but I don't think that this card deserves to be, near $1,000. The Buggy, actually, I think the Buggy's at a pretty good price of about $670. I honestly think that that's like more than fine. Buggy's really fun. He is going to be in the end game. He's literally the leader of Cross Guilds, so that makes him really important, right? And I do think that there's going to be some hype around him. And actually, Oda literally loves Buggy. Like, if you guys can tell the way that he writes that character, like, he's literally had him fail upwards all the way to like Yonko level. So that in itself, I think, shows that Oda will make him very important in the end game. So it might be worth it to get the Buggy in a PSA 10 for about $670. And then the Shanks, once again, I mean, $1,000 for a PSA 10 OP09 Shanks is a cool card, but I think I'd rather have all the other cards I just talked about in general for their price points compared to this one. I think this one is just a little bit too high. Okay, we're almost done, guys. I know it's been a long video, but next we've got the OP10 Royal Blood Law PSA 10 pup count of 132, so still pretty low just because that set just recently released. Ranger prices range from $600 to $800, but more realistically around $675 card. I think it's still too early to talk about this card. I don't think that Royal Blood is a great set, and I think that the Law from OP05 is still a lot better than the Law in OP10. And, I'd rather honestly pay up about $300 more to get the OP05 Law than have the OP10 Law. That's just me, guys. All right, I think third to last, we got the Chopper in a PSA 10 of 457 population count. Ranger prices about $900 to $1,500. Estimated PSA 10 price of $1,100. This card has been going up a lot, and I think the reason why is because people started realizing EB01 was very short printed, and in general, it was kind of hard to pull the Chopper. So because this set is short printed, I do think that this card is going to keep going up as long as the booster box price keeps going up, and I expect that EB01 booster box prices will continue to go up over time. So a little bit of an expensive manga rare, but once again, because it is one of the more rare ones, only a population count of 457, maybe this one is worthwhile to taking a look at because it is one of the more scarce cards. I put some information here about the God Pack. Honestly, guys, like, I don't have too much of an opinion on this. I'll put up some sales here of recent God Pack sales of on eBay, but I'll never want any of the cards from the God Pack. Only the Nami really is the card I want from PRB. I'd rather just collect all of the original cards. To me, this is kind of just like the second edition of a card, and I personally don't really care for that at all. So, yeah. And lastly, we've got the EB02 Luffy, the Gear 2 Luffy, population count of 17 in a PSA 10. I've only seen one sell on eBay for $1,800. I don't think that's going to be a price that stays. I think this card is going to be maybe around like $1,500 in the PSA 10. But at the same time, we still don't really know the entirety of EB02 hit rates yet. Obviously, the hit rates are pretty hard and terrible in general, but I think there just needs to be more product that needs to be opened before we can make a more educated decision on the Gear 2 Luffy in the PSA 10. So, that was a lot, guys. Overall, in total, to own every single PSA 10 card of a manga rare, and that includes the God Pack, it would cost $31,000. That is a lot of money. I personally do not have $31,000 to spend on One Piece cards, so I will not have all these cards, I can tell you guys that. But if we remove the God Pack and we remove the Gear 5 Luffy And the Roger, that in itself, let me just add this up real quick. That's like almost 9,000. This is like that. So this would make this like $15,000. So if you remove those 3 cards and sets, then actually it would be about $15,000 to own all of the Manga Rares in a PSA 10. That obviously still is a lot of money, and I also, $50,000 is kind of a lot to spend on cards in general, but I will say that that is a more reasonable and you could say affordable collection to have for all of the Manga Rares, and hopefully one day I will own that. I don't think that time's coming anytime soon, but that is a dream, and hopefully one day, maybe this YouTube channel keeps growing, and, you know, I don't know what's going to happen, but I will say, guys, if I can reach like, maybe like 10,000 subscribers by like the end of the year, which is a very lofty goal, maybe I'll buy all of the Manga Rares just like as a like, heck yeah, guys, like we actually did it kind of thing. But we'll see. I can't tell the future, but yeah, that'll be fun. And lastly, I want to show you guys, I think I mentioned it at the beginning of the video, but $12 million market cap for all of the Manga Rares in the PSA 10. That's a lot of money, guys. And once again, that kind of shows just how lucrative the One Piece trading card game can be. So, guys, I personally like having the Manga Rares just as a collecting piece. It is very expensive to own a Manga Rare, and I think it's kind of more fun for me to own multiple cards, like all of the alt art leaders, or maybe a collection of SPs. But you know, I do think that overall the Manga Rares will go up over time because they are the case hits. I think I made a video a while back that I like SPs more than Manga Rares, and I still do, but it is an undeniable fact that the Manga Rares will hold in their price over time, and I do think that they'll just continue to go up once more people get into the collecting side of One Piece, because they are just very, very nice cards. So that is the end of this video. I remember yesterday I was like, oh guys, like I hope I can make this video shorter for y'all. I lied to y'all, but it's whatever. Anyways, let's get into the giveaway of the video now, and that is for the Usopp and stuff. So, guys, you guys have been crazy. I mean, I think I was at like 700 subscribers at the start of the week. Now we're at like almost 900. That's insane, guys. If we can reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so May 31st, guys, I'm going to give away a slab. I don't know what slab I'm going to give away, but y'all clearly deserve it. My Kaizoku crew, honestly, y'all deserve everything, and I want to make sure that y'all are happy, and that means giving away cool stuff. So, how you guys can win these cards right here, all you have to do, comment below, is what is your favorite Manga Rare? Very plain and simple, right? I think my favorite Manga Rare is the Law from OP05, but I'd like to see what you guys think. So, comment down below what your favorite Manga Rare is. Remember to like and subscribe to me, and I will, I'll do my giveaway at the end of this week once I'm done with birthday week. So, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for your support. We're almost at 900 and almost at 1,000 subscribers. So once again, thank you guys so much. I literally can't believe that. You guys are fantastic. Y'all are literally my pirate crew, and I appreciate you. So, I'm Kaizoku Ice, and I will catch y'all on the next video.